I was born into a family where I was supposed to be an example. The eldest daughter, diligent, calm. From an early age, other people's hopes were hanging on me. My parents liked to say that I had to be a support. I had to help the younger ones. And I had one younger brother, Jason, with a difference of only 2 years but with a gap in characters. It was obvious from childhood that he could do anything. He could break a cup and they'd look at him with a smile. If I forget to turn off the light, I'll get a reprimand. When I brought home good grades, the most I heard was, "Well, of course you always try." But if Jason draws a 3 instead of a 2, it's already an achievement, almost a reason for celebration. But that wasn't the worst part. It was worse to realize that he knew how to use it. Since childhood, he has been able to play on pity. He knew how to cry so that his parents would believe that it was always my fault. In kindergarten, I took away a toy. At school, I pushed him, although it was the opposite. And you know, when you're 7 to 8 years old, you still believe that it's the right thing to do. That he's little, what do you want from him? And then you're 15, he's 13, and you realize that you're just being used. But the habit of being a comfortable daughter is too deeply ingrained. I've never been his enemy. On the contrary, she always tried to be there for me. When he started having problems at school, I helped with his homework. When he came home drunk for the first time at 16, I covered for him in front of my parents. And he always saw it not as caring, but as due. You're a sister, you have to. And this must has become a stigma on me. When I went to college, I started working almost immediately. There was little money in the family, and my parents didn't help much. On your own, on my clothes, for your food, for travel expenses. I could spend the money on myself. But no, Jason wanted an iPhone. I want a new bike. Not enough for an Xbox subscription. All the boys have normal sneakers, but I have old ones. And do you know what the most disgusting thing is? He didn't even ask politely. He demanded it. With a grudge. With blackmail. If you don't give it to me, I'll tell my parents that you beat me. Or another favorite phrase. Do you want me to be bullied at school? And you're a sister. And I did. Because I knew that if I refused, he would still find a way to make things worse for me. Then I got a normal job. Not immediately. First as a waitress, then as an assistant receptionist in a store, then slowly grew up. I was proud of it. I thought that now, finally, everything would be fair. That I earn money on my own, that I can live normally. But no. Jason was growing up, becoming a real parasite. Something is needed every month. Study. Although I knew that he hardly ever goes there. To a startup with a friend. Although that friend didn't even know that they were supposed to have a startup. The money was disappearing from him as if through his fingers. And if I tried to say, "Look, that's enough, I need to do it myself," he would put on a show. He cried to his parents. She left me, she betrayed me. And my parents believed me. Because of course, it's harder for a son. It's harder for a boy. The last straw happened recently. He called me in the middle of the night. His voice, as usual, is moody, as if I owe him something. And again, money. A large sum. Funny for a reason. I want to go to Vegas with my friends, I need to relax. You know, I'm having a hard time right now. And that's when I said a firm no to him for the first time.
No tantrums.
Calmly. Cold. Because I couldn't take it anymore. Because I understood. I've never been a sister to him all my life. I was a bank. Support. With a wallet. He was silent then. And even then I thought, okay, he'll be offended, he'll stop calling, maybe he'll understand a little bit of his life. But I didn't know one thing. I didn't know that he would choose war instead of silence. And that it will hit where it hurts the most. And that this phone call would be followed by real hell. After that conversation, I really hoped that everything would finally end. That he would just disappear from my life. Maybe he'll even be offended, maybe he'll call her a bitch, let him. I was ready for this. She is ready for insults, threats, even silent anger. But I wasn't ready for what happened next. After a few days, I started receiving strange messages. At first, from old acquaintances with whom I had not communicated for years. Some oblique hints, some strange rumors are going around, are you aware? Then there are my colleagues at work. Hey, are you feeling okay? Don't you want to talk? And then I found out. My brother, the man I've been pulling out of the shit all these years, started telling everyone that I was infertile. He didn't just say it as a joke, he didn't just accidentally blurt it out. He purposefully sent it to a shared family chat, childhood friends, even people I used to work with on part-time jobs. He made it sound like it was a punishment. It was as if fate had taken away my opportunity to have children, because I refused to help my own brother. "This is karma," he wrote. "That's because she always thought only of herself. God doesn't like selfish women." And the worst part was that they believed him. Why? Because in my whole life, I've never been one of those people who takes out the trash from the hut. I always kept quiet about how he lied, how he stole money from me, how he used me. For everyone, I was just cold, detached. And he is a poor, unhappy boy whom no one understands. Even my distant relatives called me. My uncle, whom I hadn't spoken to in 10 years, wrote a long message saying that family is the main thing, and even if I can't have children, that's no reason to become violent. My boss, with whom we had almost friendly relations, looked at me strangely at the meetings, until I realized that Jason had even managed to write to her. I tried to explain. She was trying to tell the truth. But do you know what the scariest truth is? When you've been silent all your life, people start thinking that your silence is a confession. Since I've never told you what Jason really is, it means everything he says is true. The most disgusting thing is that I really couldn't have children. Not because it's karma, but because I had medical difficulties that only those closest to me knew about. Mom, for example, knew. But what did Mom do? She was silent. Even when my relatives were throwing mud at me. Even when I asked, "Tell them how it was," she only replied wearily, "I don't want to get involved. It's hard for me. You're an adult. Figure it out for yourself." And so I was left alone against a wave of mud. My brother destroyed all the trust in me that had been accumulating for years. He ruined it only because it was the first time I said no. He wanted to humiliate me. He wanted me to feel guilty. He wanted me to come, apologize, beg for forgiveness. He wanted power. Complete power over me. And the scariest thing wasn't even what he said. The scariest thing is how easily others believed it. How easy it is to ruin one person's life with a lie, if there is at least one person around who says it confidently. But unfortunately for him, I wasn't going to leave it like that. If he declares war, he gets it. But now we're going to play by my rules. I've been thinking for a long time whether it's worth taking revenge at all. Did I want to be as dirty as him? Fall to his level? But then I realized it wasn't revenge. This is justice. If he chose war, let him get what he deserves. I have always tried to solve everything silently, calmly, diplomatically. But it only works when a person has at least a drop of conscience. But my brother didn't have one. And that's when I did something he definitely didn't expect. I still have all the correspondence from recent years. All the messages where he begged me for money, told me how he lost another scholarship in an online casino, how he drained his savings on betting. There are still screenshots where he asked for help to hide his debts from his parents. Even the voices where he directly threatened that, if you don't give it, I'll make the whole family turn away from you. I didn't think much of it then, but now it's become a weapon. And I began to carefully lay it out in response to his lies. Not scandalously, not shouting, calmly, clearly documented. One of the relatives started asking and I posted a screenshot. A friend wrote, "You really didn't want to help him?" I played the audio where he laughs, telling me how he's going to spend the next money on betting. First, people started to stay silent, then to make excuses. Someone wrote, "Well, we didn't know the whole picture, sorry." Someone just disappeared from the correspondence. But the most interesting part started later. Work. Do you remember the boss he wrote nasty things to? She suddenly came up to me in the office kitchen one day and said, "You know, your brother didn't just write to me. He also wrote to the director of the company, guess what? He said you were inadequate, mentally unstable. I wanted you to get fired." And that's when I decided that I'd stop playing white and fluffy. I went to the police. Yes, officially, you can file an application for distributing medical information without consent and for defamation. Yes, this is not a criminal case, but reputation is a terrible thing. Especially when you consider that my brother just got a job at the company through mutual acquaintances. Was he working? Not anymore. Because when they started looking into it, not only his messages about me were revealed, but also the facts of petty fraud at work. He even managed to borrow money from his colleagues there without paying it back, of course. And here is a moment that I will never forget. We met at a family dinner. Mom insisted. She still harbored illusions that we can work this out. He came in smug as always, thinking he was going to get out of it again as he always did. And then I took out the printed screenshots. Right at the table. In front of everyone. This included our aunt, from whom he borrowed money for medical treatment. In front of my uncle, who called me reproachfully. In front of his mother. And I calmly said, "Is that your truth? Then here's mine." It didn't take him 2 minutes to turn pale. He started mumbling that it was misunderstood, that it was incorrectly taken out of context, but it was too late. The family was silent. Even Mom lowered her eyes, because now everyone has seen the real Jason. A week later, he was fired from his job. A month later, everyone who knew anything about this story turned away from him, even the friends he hung out with. His reputation was destroyed, and not because I was taking revenge. It's because he drowned himself. And the sweetest thing is that 6 months later, he tried to come back. Wrote a message. You know, it was all emotional. We're a family. I didn't even answer, because sometimes the most powerful thing is silence. And yes, I can't have children, but I got rid of the main parasite in my life. Karma.
No.
It's just the consequences of your own actions.